This Sunday, we interrupt our normal programming to make a shocking announcement. Unconfirmed reports reaching us at the Fortall School of Government indicate that Nasa is dead. She was strangled at an innocent age of 7 months by politicians fighting to inherit Raila. But on her deathbed, the young Nasa left a riddle. It is about an old frog like Baba and a clever rat like the killers of Nasa. In this riddle, the old frog and the clever rat were best of friends, and to cement their friendship, the old frog tied his leg to the rat. It was a sign of best friends forever. Then one day, they went for a Nasa party and drank themselves merry. In this happy state, the frog convinced the rat to spend the night at his place, a pond. When they arrived, the frog jumped into the water, dragging the rat inside. Unable to swim, the poor rat died. In the morning, the dead floating rat attracted a hawk. Thankful for provisions, the hawk snatched the rat and flew away. On landing, the hawk discovered that it not only had the dead rat, but also the old frog. It ate them both. So here is the riddle. If Raila is the old frog, who is the clever rat and who misled whom?
We will give you a hint regarding the rats of Nasa and who misled whom. For starters, the rats of Nasa misled Raila to boycott the election. Or did they? Then they misled Babaman to do economic sabotage. But the scheme fell flat on its face, a disgraceful disaster. Now the rats of Nasa have misled Raila to swear himself in, and they have told him to use symbols of the dead for effect. They want to bury the old frog before he dies. Symbols of death are a signal that the old man of Nasa is dying. Or is it? We submit that the rats of Nasa have not misled Raila. They have misread him. A few months ago, CNN categorized Raila as one of the most influential leaders of the world. If he swears himself in, he will become a war criminal like that Slobodan man who committed suicide at ICC. And maybe the Nasa rats want Raila to commit suicide by swearing himself in. Then they can acquire the Odinga heritage and disinherit Raila. This is the scheme. But Raila is not so stupid. He is the one toying with Nasa rats.
We need to explain why the Nasa rats are inferior to Baba and why he will outfox them. We will do so using a market story. This is the story of a market woman who sold kidneys, lungs, and matumbo. But she also sold human brains. And on election day, she had 3 brains on sale. The first one belonged to a professor of neuroplasticity. It was selling for 150 shillings. The second one was the brain of a Matatu Makanga. Its price was 450 shillings. The third one was the brain of a NASA politician. It was selling at 1,200 shillings. As to explain the difference, the market woman said, "You see, the brain of the professor is overused. It can only fetch 150 shillings. That of the Makanga is stressed by police harassment. It can only fetch 450 shillings. But that of the NASA politician is brand new. It is completely unused. This is why its price is 1,200 shillings. If NASA is dead, it is because it has not used its brain. And Raila likes it this way. He will use this fact to finish the NASA rats."
Now we will talk about Canaan, and we will do so using the story of a NASA supporter who died in a demonstration. When he arrived in heaven, he asked whether this was Canaan. Baffled by the question, St. Peter ordered the supporter to spend 1 day in hell and 1 night in heaven. After the experience, he was to choose which of the 2 was Canaan. On the first day, St. Peter put the NASA man in a lift and lowered him deep down into hell. When the lift was opened, he was astonished. Hell was actually beautiful. It was made up of beautiful homes, big cars, free booze, and happiness galore. Everything Raila said Canaan would be. The next day, the NASA supporter was taken to heaven. God and the clouds were boring. They had no kick. After the experience, he was asked to vote. And like most of us, he chose hell. Then he was put back in the lift and lowered back to hell. When the doors opened, the NASA man was shocked. Hell had changed. It was dark, dirty, smelly, and nasty. When he asked what had happened, Lucifer replied, "Yesterday we were campaigning. Today you voted. That is the difference."
For the 10th time, I want to submit to the nation that Raila has absolutely no plan. He is gambling with ideas. After 12th of December, he will tell us to wait for the next big announcement, and it will be a disaster. And this will continue until 2022, when he will declare himself opposition candidate, because he will do that. And to keep this momentum, he will treat the country to things we have never seen. And two of these are already with us. Number one, the killing of children in NASA protests is unusual. And to understand this pattern, we must return to the cui bono question we have asked in the past. We must ask the question, who benefits? If you identify the beneficiary of dead children, you'll identify the killer. And because the beneficiary is NASA, the killer then must be NASA. And we should expect another child sacrifice on 12th of December, because the blood of innocent children is a cherished currency of the Sabbath of witches, in my view. Number two, Raila is a coward. He is using his swearing in to raise temperatures. He will actually take a fake oath of office on December 12th. If he takes the exact oath from the Constitution, he will be judged as a man by history. But he will not, because he's a coward.
As a young student of law, I have forgiven Justice Maraga for misleading the country after the August 8th election. And as Jomo Kenyatta taught us, we must forgive but not forget. We will forgive the folly of the Maraga ruling, but we will not forget the agony of his decision. Never. This is why Maraga must not confuse the cheers he received at Kasarani with approval. What the cheers meant was that he had finally accepted the will of the people. By cheering him, we were actually laughing at his earlier decision. This must be recorded in our books of political history. As a young student of law, I have another thought. After the Maraga disaster, I am persuaded that Uhuru should become a soft dictator. And because a good leader is a good reader, President Uhuru should familiarize himself with the following 3 books over the Christmas break. The first book is The Dictator's Handbook. It is about dominance. The second book is The Bad Samaritan. It is about economic selfishness. And the third book is The Virtues of Being Bad. It is about political badness. The 3 should become Uhuru's cookbooks for the next 5 years.
And now, our final thought. Uhuru can become a soft dictator because he owes no one nothing. He is liberated to pursue his dreams without worrying about re-election. He is beholden to no one. But in this state of liberty, he must be alive to 3 categories of people. And he must do so as he selects ministers and the rest of government. The 3 categories include the hunter, the farmer, and the nomad. The hunter is about opening up new frontiers. He is fearless and forward. And Fred Matiang'i is a typical case of a hunter or bulldozer. He deserves to be in cabinet. The farmer is the exact opposite of the hunter. After the hunter conquers new land, the farmer moves in to establish order. He is invisible yet forceful underground. Judy Wakungu is an example of the invisible farmer. She got rid of plastic papers quietly but firmly. The nomad is a playboy. He is a man without boundaries. He will graze his cows in Jubilee in the morning and in NASA at night. His bottom line is grass. This is how he becomes the author of government corruption. 50% of cabinet is full of playboy nomads. They should go home.